Alright guys, so in this video we're going to be talking about something that's super cool, and I really love it because it's like one of those dirty secrets that the very successful and the very happy people do. Well, they either do it subconsciously or they do it consciously, because either way it's happening, irrespective of if you know it's happening or not. So what am I talking about? I'm talking specifically about how your brain works. How does your brain work? Well, it's very interesting. At any given point in time, your mind is being bombarded with some kind of stimulus, whether that is conscious stimulus or unconscious stimulus. So all around you, all things are telling your mind, your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, how you need to believe, what you need to do, who you need to be. And it's creating this mosaic of an understanding of who you are inside of your own brain. And it's essentially this automatic code that's coding into your own mind until you realize, like, oh wow, this is the belief system, or this is the understanding I have that's been embedded in my mind without my conscious choices. So what that's called is, it's called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity. Moreover, neural networks. Now, what are neural networks? Neural networks, I like to allot them to like a path in the woods. When you first get started walking on a path and there's like lush, thick forest, it's really hard to cut down those paths. There's a lot of stuff in the way. There could be rocks, there could be trees, there could be lots of plants and stuff, and it's going to take a lot of effort for you to penetrate into that forest eventually to create that visible path. So that's much like your own mind. When you first get started on a skill, it's generally not very easy. It's kind of difficult. Like, for example, if you play the guitar, you start to develop calluses on your hands, and it hurts, and it's boring, and it's repetitive. It's like, why the hell do I want to do this? That's very much how your mind works. But eventually, if you do it over and over and over and over and over again, the path becomes more defined. So much so that it becomes permanent. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by permanent. Forget your native tongue. Forget your name. Forget how to ride a bike. You just can't. You just can't forget how to do those things, because they've been permanently implanted into your mind through that process of repetition over and over again. Now, you guys probably got a chuckle at the title of this video, because this title of this video is how I train my brain into hating McDonald's and train my brain into learning how to love to read. So when I was first getting started on my journey of figuring out what the heck's going on in this world, I realized that I just really didn't like to read. I didn't like to read. I would try to read in the car and I'd get headaches, or I would just get bored, and I really missed out on some really cool things. Like, I never read the Harry Potter series when I was a kid, and that's something I really missed out on. A lot of fun. And I guess I just associated reading with something that was boring and not interesting. So what did I do? I started to train my brain into associating reading with something good. So your mind works in a binary way. It works from, it understands things primarily as something that is good or something that is bad. And we associate everything in this world with something that we like or something that we dislike. And in a lot of respects, we might associate things that are beneficial to us as something that we dislike, like exercising or meditating or reading. And we could do the opposite perspective of associating things that we like with things that are not beneficial to us, like eating sugar or getting addicted to drama, or just getting addicted to anything in general, right? So that's how your brain works. And the cool thing about that is that once you realize that that's how the brain works, you can consciously choose to associate different things with something that I like or something that I dislike. But it takes a little bit of work, like as if you're cutting down a path again. So let's going to go back to that book analogy. I wanted to start to learn to love to read, because I have learned so many amazing things from the books I've read. Arguably, I learn more from the books that I've decided to read myself than I have in any class or any school that I've been to or any lecture I've been to. So how did I do this on a practical basis? What I did was I took a book and I started to associate reading with things that were really awesome. Like I thought of myself as becoming wealthier. Every time I read a page, I was like, wow, I'm getting smarter and smarter and smarter. Every time I read a page, I would give myself a little candy. Every time I read a chapter, I'd give myself a big candy. And then eventually I started to associate reading with something that I really, really liked. And now I can't stop reading. That's all I want to do. I really enjoy reading. And so that was a very beneficial and positive thing that I was able to do in my own mind, and tricking my mind into loving to read. Now, I did the exact same thing with McDonald's in my earlier journey, maybe like 5, 6 years ago. I was like addicted to eating McDonald's, and that's just terrible crap I'm putting in my body, and I'm so glad that I'm not anymore. And so what did I do? I began to associate eating McDonald's with, I just had these ridiculous visualizations. I imagine like rain, like cellulite rain, just pouring down on me, and being lethargic and being apathetic and being ugly and being obese, and just being a, just being like a slug. And what I did was, every time I got a craving, or every time I saw the McDonald's logo, what I did is I literally slapped myself across the face. I mean, that might sound extreme, but I slapped myself across the face. And what I did was I continually associated that craving, I continually associated that logo with pain and discomfort. And guess what? It worked. And there's only been 2 times since when I first started doing this that I went to McDonald's, and that was once when I was hitchhiking in Spain and there was nothing open, and I just got some potatoes, and another time when I was stranded in an airport in Hong Kong and there was nothing open, and I think I got like a salad or something. So the food I got wasn't even really that bad in the first place, but it worked. And I now, whenever I think of McDonald's, I just get ill. So you can do this with anything in the world, anything in the world. If you want to start to associate running, if you want to go run more, start to think about how good you'll feel. Start to think about how healthy you'll look. Start to think about how much more energy you'll have. Begin to associate positive feelings with running, and bombard your conscious mind with that positive aspect when you associate it and correlate it with running. And eventually what's going to happen is you're going to start to love to do that if you consistently do it enough with enough repetition. And that's kind of like the hack. That's kind of like the secret that you can do with any type of behavior and any type of understanding you have in the world. Another thing that I did for that was I learned how to love criticism, and constructive criticism, of course. And I'm going to do a separate video on that and why that's super important. But it really works with everything. So this is something that I recommend you guys do. I recommend you guys check out. And yeah, so that's the end of the video. And I'm trying to end off every video with just a reminder that you guys have infinite self-worth. It's my firm conviction that most of the reason why we suffer in this world, or moreover are not able to actualize the fullest versions of ourselves, is because we fundamentally don't believe that we're worthy of doing it. So if you can imprint that worthiness within your subconscious mind, you will start to actualize a greater and more profound sense of being and a sense of living. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got some insight out of it. And I'll see you guys in the next video if you decide to stick along the channel.